Alright guys, bear with me here for just a minute. I just wanted to show you a picture of this. My printer's actually not working today. This works just as well. I just wanted to have you guys take a look at this, and most of you guys can probably tell who this is. If you can't, you can probably tell what time period and what era it came from, what area of the world. And this is actually the gold-plated casket cover of King Tutankhamun, or King Tut. He's also referred to as the Boy King, which I know most of you guys are probably familiar with. King Tut actually was crowned king at 9 years old. He died 9 years later, tragically, at the young age of 18. Many of you guys already know this. These are probably some common facts about King Tut. But what you don't know is what he accomplished in his life as pharaoh. I've always been fascinated with ancient Egypt and King Tut specifically. I've done a few projects on him and on the culture of ancient Egypt. I was currently watching a 6-hour-long documentary about the life of King Tut, and this is where I learned a lot of the information that I'm actually going to share with you that I wasn't aware of when I was doing past research. Just as science advances and new theories emerge, things are changing. So I did a little more digging, and I want to share with you guys some of the interesting and uncommon facts about King Tut that I've discovered. I wanted to start by telling you guys a bit about King Tut and his early life. King Tut was actually the 12th king of the 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt. He ruled from about 1333 BC to 1323 BC. After the death of his father and his two older brothers, there was nobody else to crown. King Tut became king when he was just 9 years old. His first year of pharaoh, he was actually controlled by an elder named Ai, and Ai bore the title of the vizier of the palace. The vizier was basically the head of all of the servants. His right-hand man was the leader of the militia, so he was very knowledgeable and kind of the king's right-hand man. As King Tut grew, he was able to start making decisions for ancient Egypt on his own. And one of the first things he did was change the royal court location from Amarna back to Thebes, which is what his dad had changed during his rule, and so he basically changed the capital of ancient Egypt back to Thebes. King Tut also had to restore foreign order. Another thing that his father had done in his rule was basically lose contact with any type of foreign policy that ancient Egypt had known before. And evidence suggests that King Tut had a lot of war going on throughout his reign. So nine years is a pretty short period to have a lot of wars going on with your neighboring countries. They mostly fought over territory and control over trade routes, which is really important for Egypt. They didn't have any type of crops. They were all sand. So King Tut's father had also ordered that the worship of multiple gods was actually forbidden. They were worshiping one god, which is the god of the sun. So King Tut actually reinstated the worship of multiple gods and actually rebuilt the worship temples. In his short time as pharaoh, King Tut actually accomplished a lot of things for Egypt, but sadly he died quite young. Although scientists are not entirely sure what caused his injury, we do know that King Tutankhamun actually died from a broken leg, which in turn got infected. Because King Tut had no children, this caused a lot of turmoil for the palace, obviously. And King Tut was buried in the Valley of the Kings. His sudden death called for a burial in a smaller tomb, which is one of the reasons why we weren't able to discover him for a long time. He was likely buried in a lesser, more common wealthy man. So King Tut's advisor, actually became king once King Tut died. He actually married King Tut's younger sister, and shortly after this, King Tut's sister actually vanished from history altogether, which kind of raises a few eyebrows on, how he died and if there was a conspiracy going on there. So King Tut was actually virtually unknown until the discovery of his 100% preserved tomb in 1920, and this is why he's one of the most famous pharaohs to date. So many people obviously know King Tut from his perfectly preserved tomb, the famous photo of the gold-plated casket that he was covered in, and the fact that he was just the youngest pharaoh to rule Egypt. I hope after today you guys know more than 3 small facts, and maybe you guys are interested in digging some information on your own. And now you guys can be the smartest ones at your table this holiday and discuss the success and death of King Tut with your families.